Is the iPhone 14 Pro really Pro? Or is there an opportunity right now for Apple to go all out and go all in on the Pro part of the iPhone 14 Pro and show off a phone that we've never seen before? By all accounts, the iPhone 14 is shaping up to be a really great upgrade, especially even compared to the iPhone 13, but what could Apple do to make the iPhone 14 Pro really a Pro phone worthy of its Pro price tag? In this video, I'm breaking down the 10 best features that I would want to see in the iPhone 14 Pro that really would make it a great phone, and I'm curious to see if you agree as well. What could Apple do to really make the iPhone 14 Pro worthy of its name and price tag? Let's find out. And a big thanks to Roborock for sponsoring this video. Now, if there's one year that Apple could really go all out on the iPhone and give us so many awesome features, it would be next year with the iPhone 14 in 2022. And again, by everything we know right now, all the leaks and all the rumors, it's shaping up to be a pretty big year for the iPhone 14. First things first, we've got that radical redesign that is really reminiscent of the iPhone 4 design from 2010. You've got the round volume buttons, you've got the squared off boxy edges, this industrial design, even sort of that speaker mesh on the bottom. This looks like a fantastic phone, sort of the iPhone 4 remodernized and reintroduced for 2022, and I for one am all for it. This looks like a great phone. I'm really excited for the iPhone 14 lineup, but Apple could still do so much more. Now let's just get the obvious out of the way first things first. Of course, what would really make this a Pro iPhone would be no notch, so Face ID under the display, no hole punch cutout, and also I want to have Touch ID under the display as well. Now let's start with the notch first. I know some of you guys don't care about the notch, others of you really despise that notch, and we know that Apple is working to give us Face ID that works under the display, and it's coming in a year or two, but it would be so great to see with the iPhone 14 Pro next year in 2022. So you just have this big, beautiful display that doesn't have any notch, no hole punch cutout. You just have a nice, unobtrusive display that lets you see your content. I'd also love to see, with no notch, Touch ID under the display as well. Now, personally, I'm a fan of Face ID. The system always works really well. I love how it's gotten improved year over year. And as much as I love Touch ID, I don't know if it would be all that useful for me in 2022. But speaking generally here, just as a Pro iPhone with a Pro price tag, it would be nice to sort of have the best of both worlds. And maybe you could sort of use both and lock down your phone like Fort Knox, or you could have certain authentication ways for certain scenarios. So maybe you use Touch ID at work and Face ID at home, or vice versa. Just having the option for both would be really nice to see. And again, this has been highly rumored for years. We know that Apple patented this technology. They were working on it and developing it for the iPhone 13. And for one reason or another, it just didn't happen. But with the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, I would love to have this perfect world, this perfect combination. It's like vanilla and chocolate put together. It's Face ID and Touch ID. That's what I would love to see on the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. Next up, let's talk screen sizes. From the leaks and the rumors and all the information we've been able to obtain right now, this is what the iPhone 14 lineup is going to look like. We're gonna have a 6.1-inch iPhone 14, a 6.1-inch iPhone 14 Pro, a 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Pro Max, and then a 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max. Yes, that's right, there will not be a mini iPhone in 2022. It looks like Apple is discontinuing the mini lineup, and the 12 and 13 will be the only mini models that we'll see for the foreseeable future. Apple is instead going to give us a larger iPhone with a larger display that is cheaper. So basically a large screen 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max that's missing some of the bells and whistles of sort of the Pro higher-end iPhones. And again, I think this move does make a lot of sense. And I actually am a fan of the 6.1 and 6.7-inch screen sizes. They're really good and sort of give you good options, whether you want to go a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. But I'd love to see Apple almost in a way think a little bigger, or I guess actually think a little smaller. What if, in addition to the 6.1-inch and 6.7-inch Pro and Pro Max, Apple gave us a smaller iPhone 14 Pro Mini or an iPhone 14 Mini Pro? And I know this might sound crazy, but personally, a lot of the people that I know who love the iPhone 12 mini and 13 mini were sort of professionals. They loved all the camera improvements and the processor upgrades and all that stuff from the higher end iPhones, but they were willing to sacrifice some of those features to have sort of a more compact, portable iPhone that was just a lot easier to carry on with them. What if Apple sort of gave us a mini iPhone catered towards the pros? So it had a triple camera setup, it had ProMotion, it had all the bells and whistles with photo modes and video modes, and it was basically feature for feature exactly the same as the larger Pro and Pro Max, but just in a smaller, more compact size. Would you want a 14 Pro Mini or 14 Mini Pro? Should Apple make a Pro-focused smaller iPhone? Not sure if this one's in the cards for 2022 or even ever, but this would be really cool to see, and I think a lot of pros would really love a smaller mini Pro-focused iPhone. Now, speaking of pros, when Apple talks about professionals and their professional workflows, they're always very quick to point out the convenience and ease of use with a little port called USB-C. It's on the iPad Pro, it's on the iPad Air. It was a big deal when it came to the MacBook Pro. This is sort of the port that can do it all. It's the jack of all trades, whether you want to charge, plug in a random accessory, or a high-speed storage device. The USB-C port is like the dream come true. It's one cable to rule them all. But when it comes to Apple, USB-C makes so much sense on the MacBook Pro and the iPad Pro and other higher-end devices, but when it comes to the iPhone, it's only Lightning. Across the board, that's the only way to go. So why is that? Well, I could spend a whole video talking about Apple's Made for iPhone program and how much money Apple makes licensing Lightning technologies. It just makes more sense for them to stick with Lightning. But if Apple really did want to deliver this pro-focused iPhone that had a lot of versatility and functionality built in with the best port for professionals like you and I, USB-C undoubtedly just makes so much more sense. Now, before we continue building out our dream iPhone 14 Pro, let me take a quick break and tell you guys about some of my favorite pieces of tech of all time made by this video sponsor, Roborock. Now, if you are a regular viewer of the Apple Circle channel, it should come as no surprise to you that I absolutely love the Roborock S7 and the Auto Empty dock. It's a perfect combination. These two gadgets just work together flawlessly. I've been using both for months and absolutely love them. Now, the star of the show here is the Roborock S7. This is a smart robo vacuum that not only can expertly vacuum, but also has an intelligent mop built in as well. This sonic mopping technology will scrub your floor 3,000 times per minute, does a really great job, and is also smart enough to automatically lift when carpet is detected. The S7 also uses ultrasonic technology, so it knows exactly where carpet is, and it does a really great job of vacuuming as well. And with an all-new rubber brush, it's even more durable and even better at avoiding hair tangles. Personally, one of my favorite features of the Roborock S7 is that it uses LiDAR technology to scan its surroundings. It's beyond just being able to scan one room. The Roborock S7 will scan your entire house, and it's smart enough to know the difference between one room and the other. It's also got multi-level support built into the app as well. And if you want to make your Roborock experience even better, the perfect companion for the Roborock S7 is, of course, the Auto Empty dock. When your S7 is done cleaning, it'll go back to its dock to charge and also automatically empty its dustbin. It's quick, it's simple, it's automatic, and means the Roborock S7 can clean for up to 8 weeks before you need to empty the dustbin on the dock. And the bag itself is a 3-liter dust bag, which will self-seal when removed to prevent dust leaks. I love that. And the bag has been treated with an antibacterial agent to prevent it from bacterial growth. You've also got full control over the emptying process within the Roborock app as well. So you can manually empty the dustbin if you need to, or you can use the smart option, which is going to take a lot of different factors into account, like the time of day, how often your S7 is cleaning, how long it just ran, so it'll make the entire auto emptying process as unobtrusive to you as possible. And right now, Roborock is having some of their biggest deals ever. You can check them out at the links down below, but there are some great savings you can take advantage of for a limited time. The Roborock S7 Plus is 24% off, the H7 is 28% off, and the Roborock S7 is 30% off, all for a limited time. So if you guys want to learn more and take advantage of those limited time savings today, hit the link right down below to learn more. Now, one feature that has been rumored to be coming to Pro-end iPhones for years and years and years is native Apple Pencil support. Now look, I'm not asking for Apple to ship the iPhone 14 Pro or Pro Max with an Apple Pencil in the box or have some kind of magnetic stylus attachment kind of thing. That's just crazy. But what would make sense is for Apple to just give us Apple Pencil support on the Pro iPhones. You don't have to include it in the box, but just being able to bring your Apple Pencil over and use it on the screen would be really nice to see. And again, I understand that there are different uses for this. It kind of makes more sense to be used on a tablet than a phone, but for some who want to edit photos with precision or illustrate or do a quick sketch on their iPhone, just having that capability would make so much sense. And I'm not really, very aware of what the technical limitations are as to why this hasn't happened, or if it's more of Apple just being Apple and not wanting to mix the two lines. But Apple Pencil support just makes more and more sense as the years go on, and as the Apple Pencil gets better and more feature-packed. Apple, just let the Apple Pencil work on the screens on your Pro-end iPhone. Now, we already talked screen size, but what about screen technology? Well, honestly, I don't really have any complaints here at all. Apple is already implementing some cutting-edge technology with the displays on all of their iPhones. These are OLED panels, or really high-quality OLED panels, but although I don't have any complaints about the screen on the front, what about the screen on the back? Or what if Apple was to put a screen on the back of the iPhone? I know it sounds crazy, but just think about it for a second. What if there was sort of a screen built in by the camera cutout on the back that you could use it as a viewfinder when taking photos or taking selfies? You could use it to display battery information when your phone is screened down. Would it make sense for the iPhone 14 Pro series to have a second display on the back? This one's a little bit more in concept land. It looks great on these renders and makes a lot of sense with rumors. I'm not sure how practical this would be, but it would be cool to see the iPhone 14 Pro series sort of give us something different, give us a new addition, and really sort of change the form factor. Not so crazy, because Apple likes to make small moves, but putting a screen on the back would be really cool to see. Now, when it comes to the processor inside of the iPhone, this is again another area where I really can't complain. The A15 Bionic has been fantastic, and really every A processor year after year has been more powerful and more efficient. I really can't complain about the processor inside of the iPhone. But just to think and dream for a second, if Apple was to give us an M1 or an M1 Pro or an M1 Max instead of the iPhone 14 Pro, what would that do? Would you have better capability for editing video or taking photos? Could you run more apps simultaneously on your iPhone? There's a lot of different things that Apple could do with the chip inside of the iPhone, but one of the things I would love to see with an M1 powered iPhone is something that Samsung is sort of already doing with their DeX platform, and that is the ability to plug your iPhone into a monitor and have a wireless keyboard and mouse and get the full macOS experience running off of the iPhone. Also, there are some obvious ones I'd love to see as well. An always-on display has been rumored. I would love to see that on the iPhone 14 Pro, so Apple, please make that happen. And also, reverse wireless charging is technically there with the 14 if you have a MagSafe battery pack, but Apple, please just make that official. Please sort of unlock that and let any Qi device reverse wirelessly charge off the back of the iPhone 14 Pro. That would be very cool to see as well. So that's sort of my wish list, bucket list, things I'd love to see on the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, and maybe that iPhone 14 Mini Pro as well. I know all this stuff doesn't necessarily make sense. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but when I sort of put my thinking cap on and think about this dream iPhone that I'd love to see, all of this stuff put together would make Apple have all my money, because this would essentially be the perfect iPhone. But what are your thoughts? What would Apple have to add to the iPhone 14 Pro to make it really worthy of its Pro name? Let me know your thoughts down below and what you'd love to see coming up next year in 2022. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm Robert Rosenfeld from the Apple Circle, and I will see you all in the next one.